Baby, I'm a gangster too.
Emi Tomai.
Baby, I'm a gangster too. Baby, I'm a gangster too.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is that?
Baby, I'm a gangster.
Hi everyone, my name is Emilian and I've been working in private aviation during the last 10 years as a pilot, a salesman, ground assistant in a private jet terminal, and now owning my company. I would like to share with you everything I learned and create a jet culture free of stereotypes and full of truthness. I want to explain you how private jets really work, create a true jet culture free of stereotypes. Hopefully, you will end up loving private aviation as I do. So the big question is, what is really private aviation? Well, where to start? If I say private jet, each of you will think to something different. Maybe you can think of a dedicated flight attendant which is preparing your favorite meal. Or maybe you think to bring your friends aboard and have a party with alcohol, music, maybe cigarettes. Or maybe someone can think to a couple of businessmen talking finance and having an espresso. All of these examples are truthful and can be right, somehow. With one exception, you cannot smoke aboard an aircraft. However, there are still some brokers which ask only smoking allowed aircraft. So I assume that there are some operators which still tolerate it, but I won't give names. Private aviation is in the mind of many the ultimate experience. The glamour of owning almost everything. Sky is the limit and we go for it. Nice dressed, rich, extravagant. Cool stuff, right? In addition to these images, there are many myths, stereotypes, and common assumptions we should clarify together. For example, many people believe that private aviation is less controlled than airlines. For example, I got so many crazy requests, like people which ask me to fly without documents or during the COVID with a positive test, or people which really ask me if they can bring some bags which nobody should open, like I believe with money, arms, drugs, but this is not a normal request. I also had some requests which really made me believe that the person who was talking to me wanted to traffic organs. How much cash can I take with me? And my reply is, you can take the cash that you can legally prove is yours, not to me, to the police in case they stop you. During COVID, I had a bunch of requests of people which wanted to skip the test, the quarantine, the entry form, and the regulation which was preventing them to travel from one country to another. Unfortunately, my reply had to be no, because we need to follow the same rules as the airliners. So let me be clear about this topic. No matter if you charter a jet or you own it, same rules apply to private jets and to airlines. In terms of flight preparation, a private jet company will ask to the customer the same information that airlines ask to their passengers. Your passport, the visa if needed, COVID test or COVID certificate, entry form, and all kinds of documents required for you to legally enter their country. A small advantage and comfort for those flying private is that private jets 99% of the time uses private jet terminals, also called FBOs. This gives an easier and faster access to the aircraft, but in the terminal you will find airport authorities, police, and customs. At some locations, the police are always on site, and at some others, they come just for a random check when they feel it's needed. Regardless the private jet terminal you will be flying in, always be prepared for a check. You, your documents, or even your bag. After you book a jet, a company representative will ask you to send your passport. When he will receive this passport, he will send it to the airport handling, and the airport handling will share it with police. So you will never come incognito. The airport knows that you are coming, and they can check on you if they feel is the right thing to do. For example, the last summer, I had the flight out of Nice through a broker. We had 4 gentlemen, and 2 of them were stopped by the police. In fact, they were wanted by Interpol. When Mourinho was the coach of Chelsea, a crew called us and said that they need to delay the flight for a little bit. When we asked why, They told us that the police was checking all his bags. I guess that someone there didn't like Chelsea or maybe his face, because he really doesn't look like a drug trafficant or something. And as with airliners, the ticket itself will not guarantee that you will access the aircraft. You still need to behave well, and if someone suspects that you are under drugs or terribly drunk, your access will be denied. Bottom line, even if private aviation looks more relaxed, this is absolutely not the place for bad intentions. Aviation itself has so many layers of security, and no matter if you fly by private jet or with an airline, nobody can think to skip security and regulations. So let me tell you some true advantages that you will have if you choose to fly private. For example, you can bring your pet with you. This is done quite easily in between European countries and with a veterinary visit if you're going to the UK or traveling from the UK to Europe. Pets are always welcome aboard. Of course, if they pee-pee or poo-poo, the company will send you a cleaning invoice. And this is just because they need to make sure that the next customer will also find a clean cabin when boarding the aircraft. Another advantage of flying private is that you can choose to go to destinations which are not served at all by the airlines. Saint-Tropez, Bolzano, Lugano, St. Moritz, and my home base, of course, Sion. Bags are also a good topic when it comes to the advantages of flying private. There is always space for at least one big bag and a trolley. And if the cabin is not full, meaning that if not all the seats are occupied, you can take even extra bags with you. It's really rare to see passengers which are told to leave some bags at the handling. This will create a discomfort, and the crew will always try to play Tetris with your bags and make it work. If I can give you a suggestion, if you are going to fly heavy in terms of bags, try to choose soft bags instead of the plastic hard case. This is easier for the crew to handle, and they will successfully achieve the next level of Tetris game. For example, I fly a 7-seat jet aircraft. When the customers or the broker ask me how many bags the passenger can take, my standard answer will be, we can take up to 8 big bags and some small items, like trolleys. So what is really private? I believe that what is really private are your choices, meaning that you can really choose from where to fly, to where, with who, at what time, the food that you want aboard. The space in the cabin is yours, private. But the aircraft is commercial, even if it's a private jet, the same as the airlines. So what are the differences with the airliners? As I am a pilot, I will tell you from my pilot point of view. One easy example is the takeoff thrust. An advantage that I have versus an airline pilot is that, for example, I can do takeoff using full thrust, meaning that I'm using all the power that my engines can deliver. In the airlines, many times they use something called reduced thrust takeoff in order to avoid extra stress to the engine if the runway is really long. Maybe 80% will be enough to take off and keep the same margins of safety. To make it easier, I can use all the power my engines are able to provide me. Another difference with airliners is the fuel, and for example the fuel reserve. In private aviation, the company are smaller, fleet is smaller, and also the decision-making process is smaller. We are more free to choose more fuel as a reserve versus the airliner pilots, which have from the company and from the very top more strict guidelines. For some airliners, and especially for the low cost, the economy is the most important factor, and we have an advantage by flying private jet. For us, what is paramount is the comfort of the passengers. Another example can be bad weather, turbulences. With the private jet, if we fly 10 minutes longer, we will not receive so many questions. So if we have a family in the back and we see that there are some kids, for them the comfort is the most important thing. If we have ahead of us a cell and we know that inside we will find some bad turbulence, we will do all possible to avoid it, meaning we will go to the left or to the right of it, or we will climb above. Now, I'm not saying that airlines doesn't do the same. I don't know, but I guess that for them, the economy of the ride is more important than the comfort. Regarding the crew and the qualification, I will say that the training is exactly the same. We all have the same license, which is an airline transport pilot license. The difference is that when you have this license, which is basically like a driving license, giving you the right to drive on the road, we have something called type rating. I have, for example, an airline transport pilot license, even if I never flew an airline. On my license, I have a type rating on citation C525. The airline pilots which flies you on Airbus A320, they have an airline transport pilot license with a type rating on Airbus A320, meaning that they cannot fly my citation jet and I cannot fly their Airbus A320. Altitude and speed. If we compare airlines and private jets in terms of altitude and speed, there is the tendency to see the private jets smaller than the big airliners and to assume that we are slower or that we cannot fly that high. Actually, most of the time, this is not correct. For example, with my citation jet, I can climb up to flight level 450, which is around about 13 kilometers above the ground. And with a quick search on Google, I found out that Boeing 737 new generation can climb only to flight level 410. This means that I can climb 10% more than an airliner. So maybe you are wondering, who are the people which can afford to fly by private jet? There is no straight answer to it. It can be wealthy families, bankers, athletes, celebrities, and also chihuahuas. In my first experience when I was working in Zurich as a charter sales for a private jet company, it happened to me to sell a London to Nice, and the passenger aboard was just a chihuahua. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it at the time and I still can't believe it today. More strange stories. Once I had a flight from Libya to Germany with a coffin for a funeral, and I was in contact with the chief in command of which was explaining me what is the contingency plan in case of a strike at the airport. Something really crazy, like a full protocol which I cannot tell you. I almost forgot about the envelope flight. I once sold a private jet during the night and the only passenger aboard was an envelope from Athens to Malta. Nobody opened that envelope, but I guess that it was really precious. I also had the request to transport flame which was powered by gas, and it was for an Orthodox church. This was really tricky and I couldn't handle it because it's dangerous and good and the protocol is so hard. Bottom line, there is no rule for who can afford private jet.
Francesco, I just forgot something about the episode of today. You know, I speak about the Chihuahua, the coffin. I had also Simon Leviev. These kind of guys also try to fly by private jets. The guy tried to rob me, basically, 18,000 euro to confirm a flight. He sent me a fake proof of payment, but I smell he was full of shit. So I send you now the screenshots and maybe we can show it somehow in the episode because I denounced this guy already in 2018.
This episode is now finishing. Rest assured that I will not be behind this desk during the next episode. In fact, my intention is to take you with me everywhere I can. In the airplane, at the airport, at the handling, in my business trips, in my hotel rooms when needed, or even in my home. My idea is to make you fall in love with the private jet world. And I can't wait to take you with me in my magic world. Bye for now.